Did you know that starting this year, one single traffic mistake in multiple states across this country can cost you more than a month's rent, even if no one gets hurt, and even if you have a completely clean driving record? Sounds exaggerated, right? Sounds like the kind of headline designed to get your attention and then disappoint you with the details? But it's not. In 2026, a wave of new driving laws and enforcement changes quietly took effect across the United States, and the vast majority of drivers are still completely unaware of just how financially brutal these new rules actually are. We are not talking about a simple $150 ticket that you groan about and move on from. We are talking about thousands of dollars in fines, insurance premiums that can explode practically overnight, and fees you are still required to pay even if the charge against you is ultimately dismissed. What's worse, and this is the part that genuinely catches most people off guard, some of these penalties don't even require a police officer to pull you over. Cameras, automated data systems, and AI-powered enforcement technology are now watching virtually every move you make on the road. One tiny habit you've been doing for years without even thinking about it could now put you on the fast track to serious debt and a seriously damaged driving record. Stay with me because law number 3 is catching even the most careful, most conscientious drivers completely off guard, and it might already be costing you money right now without you realizing it. Number 10. Mandatory fees, even when charges are dismissed. Here's the law that is making drivers absolutely furious, and honestly for very good reason. Under the new driving enforcement rules that have rolled out across multiple states in 2026, getting your ticket dismissed no longer means you walk away without paying anything. Yes, you heard that correctly. Even if a judge throws out the charge, even if the officer made a mistake, even if the evidence falls completely apart and the case against you crumbles, you may still be legally required to pay mandatory administrative and court fees. These fees are now classified as non-refundable processing costs, not penalties, which means the system keeps your money no matter what the outcome of your case turns out to be. For many drivers, this can range from hundreds to well over $1,000, especially once paperwork fees, system processing fees, and court handling costs are all added together and stacked on top of each other. What makes this even more shocking and more infuriating is just how common this situation actually is. Imagine fighting a ticket because you know with complete certainty that you did nothing wrong. You take time off work, which costs you money. You pay for parking. You maybe even hire legal help or spend hours researching how to represent yourself. And then you win. The charge is dismissed. You breathe a sigh of relief. And then you still get hit with a bill. This law quietly and deliberately shifts the financial burden onto drivers, effectively discouraging people from contesting tickets at all. And that, many legal observers argue, is exactly the point. Fewer challenges mean faster processing, more reliable revenue streams for the system, and far less pushback. So what can you do to protect yourself? First, always ask for a complete and itemized breakdown of all fees before you make any decision about whether to contest a citation. Second, calculate honestly whether fighting the ticket actually saves you money in the long run when all costs are factored in. Sometimes paying early with a discount option may actually cost less than winning a contested case. And finally, keep clean driving habits to avoid entering this system altogether, because once you're in it, everyone pays. Number 9. Tougher penalties for aggressive driving patterns. This law doesn't punish a single mistake. It punishes a pattern. And that is exactly what makes it so uniquely dangerous and so difficult for everyday drivers to navigate. Starting in 2026, multiple states have expanded how aggressive driving is officially defined. And it is no longer limited to obvious road rage incidents or extreme speeding well above posted limits. Now, enforcement systems and officers can combine multiple smaller, seemingly routine behaviors. Things like following another vehicle too closely, making frequent lane changes, sudden hard braking, or accelerating quickly when lights turn green, into what is officially classified as an aggressive driving pattern. On their own, any one of these actions might seem harmless or just a natural part of navigating busy roads. But together, stacked and combined, they can trigger serious and expensive penalties. What is especially unsettling about this particular law is that this pattern-based approach relies heavily on data collection and ongoing observation, not just a single witnessed incident. Traffic cameras, patrol vehicles, dash cam footage, and even your prior citation history can all be used to build what amounts to a driving profile on you. Once you are officially labeled as an aggressive driver, you may face steeper fines, license points, mandatory driving behavior courses that you pay for out of pocket, and in some cases, dramatically increased insurance scrutiny that follows you for years. And because this law focuses on behavior tracked over time, many drivers won't even realize they are at risk until the penalty arrives, and it's already too late. Think about the realities of daily commuting. Heavy traffic, tight schedules, the frustration that naturally builds up after a long day at work. It is genuinely very easy to speed up slightly, squeeze into a lane, or ride someone's bumper without even consciously thinking about it. But under this law in 2026, those everyday habits can now stack up against you both financially and legally in ways they never could before. Number 8. License points for non-moving violations. This new rule is catching drivers completely off guard because it breaks something most people have believed to be true for decades. The old assumption was simple: no movement, no points. Starting in 2026, certain non-moving violations in multiple states can now add points directly to your driver's license. That means infractions that occur while your car is parked or barely moving, things that used to result in nothing more than a small fine, can now quietly and permanently damage your driving record. And once points appear on your license, the real financial pain begins and compounds over time. What qualifies as a non-moving violation that can now generate points? Think expired registration issues, insurance documentation failures, improper parking in restricted safety zones, or even administrative compliance errors that surface during a traffic stop. These are not reckless actions by any definition. But under the new system across multiple states, they are treated as indicators of driver responsibility and overall reliability as a road user. Accumulate enough of these points, and you could face insurance premium increases that last for years, mandatory driver improvement programs that cost money to complete, or even license suspension, all without ever having been stopped for actually dangerous driving. What makes this particularly dangerous is how invisible it feels until it's already too late. Many drivers don't regularly check their license point status, assuming points only accumulate from speeding tickets or accidents. By the time they notice something is wrong, usually when their insurance renewal statement arrives with a shocking increase, the damage is already done. Points stay on your driving record for years, silently working against you every single time your history is reviewed by an insurer, an employer, or a court. Number 7. Stricter rules on modified vehicles. If your car looks, sounds, or sits even slightly different from its factory standard configuration, this law deserves your full and immediate attention. Beginning in 2026, multiple states dramatically tightened enforcement around modified vehicles, and the changes go far beyond the obvious targets, like extremely loud exhaust systems or wild aftermarket body kits. What used to be treated as a simple fix-it ticket can now escalate into hefty fines, mandatory government inspections, and in some cases, having your vehicle flagged as non-compliant in state databases. That flag does not disappear easily or quickly, and it can follow your vehicle every single time it is scanned or stopped by law enforcement going forward. The biggest and most consequential shift is just how broadly modification is now defined under these new rules. Exhaust systems, window tint darkness levels, suspension ride height, aftermarket lighting systems, wheel spacing and offset, and even software tuning and engine management changes can all trigger violations if they fall outside the newly updated compliance thresholds. Officers no longer need to prove the modification is dangerous or contributed to any unsafe situation. They only need to demonstrate it doesn't meet current regulatory standards. Once cited, drivers may be required to pay penalties, revert the vehicle back to its original stock configuration entirely, and pass a state re-inspection, all at their own expense and on their own time. The stacking financial effect is what makes this particularly brutal. First comes the ticket, then the cost of having parts removed or replaced, then the inspection fees, then the lost time from work. And if the modifications are not resolved correctly and completely, repeat citations are entirely possible. Number 6. Higher penalties for speeding near sensors. Speeding has always been expensive, but in 2026, where you speed matters just as much as how fast you are going. Multiple states have expanded the use of speed detection sensors, and the financial penalties tied to triggering one of these sensors are significantly harsher than what you would face from a traditional speeding ticket issued by an officer. These sensors are now installed in locations that many drivers still assume are safe. Long, open stretches of road, downhill sections where speed naturally builds, and zones where speed limits change subtly and without much warning. Go just a few miles per hour over the limit near one of these sensors, and you could trigger an automatic citation with enhanced fines sent directly to your mailbox. No flashing lights, no traffic stop, no warning, just a notice in the mail weeks later demanding payment. What makes sensor-based enforcement especially difficult to navigate is that many of these zones use dynamic speed limits, meaning the posted limit can actually change based on real-time traffic flow, current weather conditions, or even the time of day. Drivers who rely on memory and familiarity with a road they have driven hundreds of times can unknowingly exceed the current limit, even on a route they know extremely well. And once the sensor records the violation, the data is clean, time-stamped, and very difficult to successfully challenge. Number 5. Mandatory real-time insurance verification. In 2026, simply having car insurance is no longer enough to protect you during a traffic stop or an automated enforcement check. You must be able to prove it instantly, in real time, through connected government databases, or face immediate consequences. Multiple states have now rolled out mandatory real-time insurance verification systems, allowing officers and automated enforcement tools to check your coverage status on the spot. If the system shows any lapse, delay, or data mismatch in your coverage, even a technical error on the insurance company's end, you can be treated as an uninsured driver, regardless of what you believe your actual policy status to be. This is where things get genuinely risky for otherwise responsible drivers. Insurance databases do not always update instantly. A recent renewal, a policy change, or switching providers can create short temporary gaps in the data systems. During those gaps, a traffic stop or automated scan can flag your vehicle as non-compliant. Once that happens, the penalties move fast. Citations, vehicle impound risk, reinstatement fees, and proof of insurance filing requirements that stay on your record. Even if the error is corrected and your coverage is confirmed afterward, the financial damage may already be done. Number 4. Harsher penalties for rolling stops. The casual rolling stop is officially no longer acceptable or overlooked in 2026. Multiple states have clarified and significantly toughened enforcement around rolling stops, turning one of the most common and ingrained driving habits in the country into a surprisingly expensive mistake. A rolling stop, where a driver slows down substantially but does not come to a complete, fully motionless stop at a stop sign or before turning at a red light, is now treated as a clear violation with higher fines and stricter penalties than in any previous year. What has changed is not just the rule itself, but how aggressively and consistently it is now enforced. Officers no longer need to demonstrate that the behavior was dangerous or created any risk. If your wheels do not fully stop completely, even for a brief moment, that is legally sufficient for a citation. In many areas, intersections are now monitored by high-resolution cameras specifically capable of detecting even minimal wheel movement, meaning citations can be generated and mailed to you without any officer ever being present at the scene. Drivers often have no idea they have been cited until a notice arrives in the mail weeks after the fact, by which point the memory of the moment is long gone. Number 3. Zero-tolerance phone handling rules. In 2026, touching your phone while driving, even for 1 second, even at a red light, even to dismiss a notification you are not even going to read, can now cost you far more than most drivers expect. Multiple states have moved to absolute zero-tolerance phone handling enforcement, meaning any physical interaction with your phone while your vehicle is in motion or stopped in active traffic is considered a violation. It does not matter if you are checking navigation directions, dismissing an incoming call, or simply tapping a button to skip a song. If your hands are physically on the phone, you are in violation. No warnings, no gray areas, no exceptions. What makes this law especially harsh is how strictly it is interpreted and enforced. Drivers no longer need to be observed actively texting or browsing. Simply holding a phone or making brief physical contact with it is sufficient grounds for a citation. Officers are trained specifically to look for hand-to-device contact, and enforcement has been dramatically expanded in urban areas, busy intersections, school zones, and heavy congestion areas. Many drivers assume they are safe because they only check their phone while stopped at a red light or crawling in slow traffic. But under these rules, being stopped in traffic still counts as being in an enforcement zone. Number 2, expanded use of AI traffic cameras. In 2026, traffic enforcement across the United States has quietly shifted from predominantly human judgment to increasingly algorithmic surveillance, and most drivers have absolutely no idea how comprehensively they are being watched on every road they drive. Multiple states have dramatically expanded the deployment of AI-powered traffic cameras. And these systems do far more than simply catch drivers running red lights. They analyze full movement patterns across intersections and road segments. They detect phone handling behavior. They identify rolling stops and incomplete stops. They track lane change behavior and frequency. They can even flag repeat behaviors observed across different locations and different times, building what amounts to a detailed behavioral driving profile on individual vehicles. You do not need to be pulled over anymore to receive a citation. The cameras never blink. They never get tired. They never get distracted. The AI logs time, speed, precise location, and behavioral details instantly and without error, at least according to the systems behind them. Once a violation is recorded, a citation can be automatically generated and mailed to your registered address, often with enhanced fines and additional processing fees layered on top. By the time you open that envelope, the event is likely weeks in your past with no clear memory to rely on, and the data the system has logged is extremely difficult to successfully challenge in court. Number 1. Increased fines linked to income. This is the law that is changing absolutely everything about how traffic enforcement feels in 2026. And it is the primary reason some drivers are now seeing traffic fines that look and feel completely unreal when they open their citations. Multiple states have expanded the use of income-linked traffic fines, meaning the amount you are required to pay for a violation can now be directly tied to what you earn annually, not just to the nature and severity of what you actually did on the road. Two drivers can commit the exact same offense in the exact same location at the exact same time and walk away owing dramatically different amounts of money simply because of the difference in their incomes. For higher income earners, a routine citation for something as minor as a rolling stop or a brief phone touch can suddenly feel like a significant financial punishment rather than a simple deterrent. The stated logic behind income-linked fines is fairness, the idea that fines should sting equally, regardless of income level. But in practice, it is leaving enormous numbers of drivers stunned and confused when they open their notice and find penalties that run far higher than anything they expected. Minor infractions, speeding slightly over the posted limit, a rolling stop, an inadvertent phone touch, can balloon into four-figure costs once income calculations, administrative fees, and mandatory surcharges are all applied and stacked together. And because income data is often estimated using tax records and other public financial information, some drivers are being fined based on figures that do not accurately reflect their actual current financial reality. If there is one thing this video makes unmistakably clear, it is that driving in America in 2026 is no longer simply about safety. It is about financial survival. Small habits, minor mistakes, and everyday routines that you have been doing for years without a second thought can now lead to massive, compounding financial consequences if you are not fully prepared and fully informed. These laws are not going away. They are expanding, and they will absolutely punish drivers who ignore them or remain unaware of them. Knowledge is your only real and effective defense against a system that is increasingly automated, increasingly data-driven, and increasingly expensive. If this video opened your eyes to something you genuinely did not know before, please hit the like button right now so more drivers across the country can stay informed and stay protected. Subscribe to this channel for ongoing updates that protect your license and your wallet. And comment below, which of these laws shocked you the most? Stay alert, drive smart, and protect your financial future out there on the road.